world mill. For that purpose, as well as others, the primeval artists erected an enormous mill named Groti, as called the Mill of Skerries, or the Mill of Storms. Its scaffolding rests in the underworld atop the Nidjafil range, around the fountain Hvörgomir, which is the mother of all the world's waters, those of the underworld, earth, and heaven. From Hvörgomir, the waters come, and thence they return after completing a cycle. A channel running from the bottom of the sea through the earth maintains a constant connection between Hvörgomir and the ocean. The millstones are positioned on their framework, so that the eye of the moving stone stands over the center of the fountain, directly beneath this channel. Thus, the water surges through the eye of the millstone to and from Hvörgomir. Ebb tide occurs in the sea when the water rushes down through the eye of the millstone. Flood tide occurs in the sea when the waters are expelled again through the same opening. The revolving millstone causes the maelstrom, a whirlpool in the ocean, feared by sailors, that sucks in ships with arrow speed and drags them down into the deep, sometimes slinging them back out as well. Groti's moving millstone is turned by 9 giant women, who walk along the edge of the earth and push the enormous mill handle before them. Ymir's limbs were placed on this mill and ground up. The type of meal produced thereby is soil and sand, which the sea has ever since conveyed to the coasts of Midgard and deposited in bays on the edges of the beaches, so that sooner or later they become green fields. From Ymir's flesh was formed the oldest layer of soil, that which covered Midgard's stone foundation when Odin and his brothers raised it out of Ymir's blood. This soil is fertile, because it was derived from Adhumla's milk, and thus Midgard could be covered with vegetation. This occurred when the sun disk drove her chariot above into the newly created heavens for the first time, and bathed the earth in the beneficial rays of light. Then herbs sprouted out of the soil, and by degrees the earth acquired forests, green garb of flowering fields, so that long it could be inhabited by human beings. Since it is the dwelling for our race, Midgard is called the hall and the house, built for us by Bor's sons. They who fashioned glorious Midgard, the sun shone from the south on the stones of the hall. Then the ground grew, green with herbs. The gods appointed 2 of their circle as keepers of the mill, the Vanagod Frey, lord of the harvest, the protector of fertility, and Loder, the blazing. On Frey's behalf, his servants, Bigvir and Bela, manage the grist. Loder oversees the regular motion of the mill, and beneath him are the 9 giant women who push the mill handle before them. Thus Loder is also known as Mildifori, the conductor of the mill handle. After Ymir's flesh had been transformed into soil, that of Thrudgemir and Bergelmir followed in order. In our present age, Bergelmir's limbs are ground on the world mill. One of the younger race of giants' oldest members, the very knowledgeable Vafthrudnir, told Odin, in a contest of wisdom that they had, that he remembered when Bergelmir was laid on the mill. It was his oldest memory. He did not remember Thrudgemir or Ymir. Of them, he had only heard report. The mill also serves another purpose. With the mill handle, not only moving millstone, but also the vault of heaven turns around. It is the revolution of the firmament that Loder, Mani, and Sol's father has to supervise. The world mill fulfills yet another very important purpose. It is the source of the holy friction fire, endowed with mysterious power. Fire had existed ever since the beginning, but there are many types of fire, and the purest and most excellent did not arise until Groti's stone scraped against one another. Before then, pure fire had been concealed in the elements, unseen by the eyes of the gods, but now it was summoned forth by the friction. With and within it, a god was miraculously born. He is the personal representative of the holy fire, the whitest, the most radiant of the gods, Heimdall. He was born in the form of a most beautiful child. His destiny as a boy and a young man shall be told below. He is called the son of 9 mothers, because the 9 giantesses who moved the world mill brought him forth through their labor at the mill handle, which consequently was the world's first fire auger. The creation of the world concluded. It was determined that Odin and his descendants, the Aesir, should possess a realm and dwell in the uppermost branches of Yggdrasil, while the Vanir would continue to settle the underworld. This decision had its basis in the different dispositions of the two divine races. Odin was born with a warlike mind and a desire to accomplish active, adventurous, and strength-exerting deeds. He passed on this temperament to his children, who all were born to be gods of war and victory, even the gentle Balder. The day would come when the world would be threatened by the powers of destruction. To ensure the safety of the world, it was necessary to establish a watch of heroic gods, ready for battle in Yggdrasil, high crown, with a view in every direction from which danger might be expected. Therefore, up in Yggdrasil, high above the path that Mani, moon, travels in his journey through space, the gods resolved to establish and arrange the world named Asgard after its inhabitants. The Vanir, the tribe of the gentle Honir, are also like their father and possess his inclination for peaceful activity. Their calling is to maintain the regular fixed course of world events. The Aesir's calling is to defend it against enemies. Therein lies the proper distinction between the duties of these two god tribes. For this reason, it is the Vanir who manage the regular movement of the firmament and the tides, and who evenly divide the lapse of time between years, phases of the moon, night and day. It is the Vanir who provide the success of the crops and promote annual growth. It is they who unite man and women with the bonds of love and ensure that the chain of generations continually acquires new links. But when a powerful action is needed to protect and defend, the Aesir come forth. Nevertheless, the Vanir too show heroic courage when it is demanded of them. Seeing that they ought to have a place to live from which they could oversee and defend the world, the Aesir applied themselves to creating the lofty Asgard, as well as a safe conduit between Asgard and the underworld. For this reason, the primeval artists built the bridge Bifrost from the north to the south, depicted as a great arc through space. One end of Bifrost's bridge rests on the northern edge of the underworld, the other on the southern edge. From its well-fortified and entrenched bridgeheads, inscribed with protective runes, Bifrost passes by and outside of the rim of the earth plate, up to Yggdrasil's crown, in which Asgard's land with its golden groves rests. There, the primeval artists built the enormously large and splendid hall, Valhalla, for Odin, as well as extensive and wondrous halls for the other Aesir in Valhalla. There is a watchtower, Hlidskjalf, from which the Aesir have a view over Midgard and Jotunheim. From it, they can only see the outskirts of the underworld, because the underworld is much larger than the earth, and extends from under it on all sides into space. Thus the outskirts of the underworld lie under open skies. It is in this zone that the Vanir and the Alfar, elves, reside. The Vanir live along the western side, and the elves along the eastern. The underworld is also called Jormungrund, the great foundation, because it is much larger than the earth, which, when viewed from Hlidskjalf, only obscures Jormungrund's middlemost part. Odin receives news of what takes place in the hidden portion of the underworld from his wise ravens, Hugin and Mugin, who fly over Jormungrund every day. The Bifrost Bridge is necessary for the gods. Of course, they own horses that can swim through the sea of air, which is thus called the Bay of the Gods. But a horse does not swim as fast as it runs, and the sea of air's breadth is immense and its current strong. Thus, the gods take advantage of this remarkable bridge daily. Above Asgard, and only visible to the gods, Yggdrasil's topmost branches spread, rich with leaves and laden with fruit, whose qualities will be described later. Still higher is the place in space where all the waters of heaven converge, those that evaporate from seas and lakes, as well as from Yggdrasil's crown. Here, the waters become saturated with a substance called vapur, or black terror gleam. This substance gives the thunderclouds their dark metallic color. It can be ignited, and then becomes the quick flickering zigzag flames that find their mark with conscious certainty. The place where the vapur-laden waters gather is called Ekthrynir, oakthorn, or oak-stinger, since thunderbolts originating from there often strike Midgard's oaks. From Ekthrynir, A river with Vafir evaporating waves flows and forms a defensive moat around Asgard. When the Vafir mist above the river ignites, it resembles a raging firestorm. A drawbridge across the river leads to Asgard's wondrous gate, one of the masterworks of the primeval artists. At the apex of the world tree abides the gold glittering cock Gulumkambi, a sign of the vigilance of the Aesir and evidence of the security of the world.